All right. So to start out, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today or watching or streaming. And I'd like to introduce Tyler Anderson, who is coming to us from the American Red Cross to talk about business readiness. Sorry, clearly it's early in the morning. Thank you
Hi,
so much
everyone.
for coming, Tyler. I really
Yeah,
appreciate you
sure.
being here and helping out the businesses. So I'm going to turn it over to you now.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys. My name is Tyler Anderson, and I'm responsible for the Ready Rating program, which is kind of the American Red Cross answer for business continuity and community uh, preparedness planning for businesses, schools, community organizations. It's a great program that is made possible by our generous donors and donations, and so it is something that is made available to you all at no cost, and it's a great program that is able to be utilized via our website at readyrating.org. So you have the URL there, and we'll go through some of the highlights. There is a longer presentation that's about an hour long. This is a very 30,000-foot overview of the program. There are two different kind of methodologies to ready rating. You can take a kind of a more lengthy approach or a shorter approach that we'll go over here in just a moment, depending on what your business needs or your organization needs. But first, to start out, kind of what is ready rating? It's a free online self-paced organizational emergency preparedness program that helps organizations, schools to kind of determine their readiness and see where they are in their emergency planning and their business continuity planning and where they could possibly go and what actions they could take to get to that area. And then it allows them to check in year over year to see, what progress have we made? Where are we, what progress have we made year over year, and where can we go to ensure that we are as prepared as we can be with the resources that we have. And this is really a great program. Before I came to the Red Cross here, I was an emergency response manager for an airline, and we paid for a program that was very similar to this Ready Rating program. We paid about $10,000 a year for a program like this to use with all of our airline stations. And this is available to businesses to use completely free. And it's a great tool that you can utilize, that you can sign up, take some time, determine where you're at as an organization, and take some simple, cost-effective, achievable steps to ensure that you're ready for whatever is coming. Whether it's this week and we've got a winter storm, a blizzard that's coming our way, or it's a tornado, or whatever it is that is a business disruption or community disruption, that you're better prepared to handle that and to mitigate that risk. Just sort of, thinking about what are our next steps. So I like to, when I'm talking to businesses, I like to give them examples about, what would you do if there was some sort of event that have occurred. So for, like, let's example a restaurant. Let's say there was a water main break that prevented them from opening their restaurant, or they had a tornado hit. What could you do to continue your business operation? It may not continue at the level that you were able to continue at before, but what can you do to continue your business operation, to ensure that you're able to provide some level of service. That may look like, having a contract with a local food truck that can come operate out of your parking lot, and you're processing payments via, a Square or something like that, that allows you to, make ends meet until you can get, your insurance payments in, you can get the repairs made to your critical infrastructure, and your business, you can get up and running again. So those are some of the things, just thinking and pre-planning, how can we be prepared as a business to ensure that, we're ready when disaster strikes. So Ready Rating has two types of assessments. There is a Ready Go assessment and a Ready Advance assessment. The Ready Go assessment is a very short 25-question assessment. It's very fast. It just focuses on kind of core functions that affect preparedness. The Ready Advanced is more of a 60-question assessment. I plan on that taking about maybe an hour to complete. It'll give you a score between 1 and 100, and it measures your organization's current level of preparedness. And then it gives you a customized next steps report, which outlines the steps an organization can take to improve, like I mentioned before. Then there's the Ready Rating Resource Center, which I'll show you in a minute when we wrap up the call here. But that next steps report recommends specific tools in the Ready Rating Resource Center that can help you improve your score. It contains 70 actionable resources that members can use to achieve their preparedness goals. There's videos, checklists, reports. There is a lot of items that are just fill-in items that then you can print off and put in a binder in your workplace that are emergency action plans, things that don't take a lot of time. You need to take some effort on your part to really think about, is this going to work for my business? Coming together with your leadership team at your business and determining what resources are in your community, how you would handle the media, how you would handle your customers, things like that. But this gives you a really good framework that you can then print off and put into an emergency action plan, binder, and it's something your employees can utilize very easily. You can go through and then use those EAP binders to do what we call tabletops in the industry. Tabletop exercises are just short exercises where you all just get around a table and you talk about and talk through how are we going to handle some sort of business disruption, and you talk through with your leadership team and your employees how you handle an emergency. So these are some great tools to utilize for that. You don't have to be any sort of expert in business continuity planning or emergency response or emergency management to utilize any of these tools. Anybody can take these resources on our Ready Rating website and use them to ensure their business is prepared for an emergency. We talked a little bit about this emergency action plan template tool already. It's customized. So this does, if you print out the emergency action plans that are in the EAP template there, you also meet the OSHA guidelines that are necessary for your business. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone there. So that's another positive of completing this. So some of the action items, you'll also get this seal once you complete the Ready Rating program that you can put on your door of your business that you're a Ready Rating member and that you've taken the assessment. You can join Ready Rating by going to readyrating.org. It doesn't take long at all to join there. You'll measure your preparedness level. That Ready Go assessment takes about 30 minutes. The Ready Advance assessment takes about an hour. You'll get that next steps report. and it'll help you protect your organization, staffs, client, community. And this just isn't for, we talk about business continuity planning, but it's not just for businesses. This can be used for schools. This can be used for faith-based organizations. It can be used for community groups. It can be used for so many different organizations. So don't let that business continuity terminology scare you off in any way. So some of the resources that you have available, that readyrating.org resource center. There's also a great app that Connecticut has that's called Connecticut Prepares that you can find in the Google Play Store or the Apple Store as well. The American Red Cross has an emergency app that I would recommend everyone download that has alerts on it. It has a great planners and checklists on steps to prepare. It also has information on there on how to find a local shelter. And those are great. It's a great tool for everyone to have on their phone that gives great information on your local alerts and what's going on weather-wise, and kind of an all hazards emergency app there, as well as kind of your actionable steps of things that you can take. Ready.gov is a subset of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, and they have a Ready Business subsection on their website that has some great tools for businesses on emergency planning that you can utilize on there, as well as personal readiness and personal planning that's available on their website. And then you're also welcome to reach out to me as well. I'm the Ready Rating team leader for the Connecticut and Rhode Island region, and I can be reached at Tyler.Anderson3@redcross.org. Is there any questions that have come up in the chat box or anything like that there? I can't see on my end, but I think we've.
So I just went and I'm downloading the app now.
Yeah.
Because I didn't even know that it existed, but that's really cool. And, weather coming. So it was super easy. There's actually a few on there for Red Cross. So I found the emergency one and I'm in the process of downloading it now.
Nice.
So I think it's interesting you said that this can also be used for schools and faith-based organizations and all that too. I didn't even think of expanding it out to that. And when you do this test and it comes back, I'm assuming what it's going to give you is kind of like an action plan. Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I like the idea of being able to share it with employees and them have it, and the business continuity, I think is really that's a good piece of it, because that's the thing we want to get people, especially if you're a business in a community, you're providing a service. So when there's a disaster, to have you up and running not only is good for your business, but it's good for the community. The faster we can get people back working, providing for the community, then, it's because typically an emergency is going to hit everybody, right?
Right. Yeah. And so, making sure that you're prepared, your family is prepared at home is important as well, because you cannot focus on your business if your family is not taken care of at home. So ensuring that your families have an emergency, kit at home, that your employees' families are prepared. That's important too, because they're not going to be able to help you focus on your business or your church or faith-based organization or school unless they're prepared at home as well. Is kind of an important thing we like to hit home about. And we've all been in crisis mode the last few years with COVID. So, some of these emergency planning pieces of it, the other pieces of emergency planning kind of have taken a back seat for a lot of us. So now's a good time to dust off those, those old plans and ensure they are still actionable when we need them.
I like to tell people all the time, they tell you on an airplane for a reason to put your face mask on first before you help anybody else, right? So making sure you're set and ready to go means you can go off and help other people. So we have a question. Do we happen to know the percentages of businesses that fail after a disaster because of lack of planning?
I don't know the exact offhand, but it is a great number. And I want to say it might be conservatively. I want to say in a lot of communities, it's greater than like 40%, maybe even closer in some communities, especially those that may not be higher income. It may be closer to 50% of communities our businesses fail after a natural disaster. I
Wow.
don't have the exact statistic, but yeah, it's a very high percentage of those, and it gets even higher if you don't have a plan in place of, do you already have, contracts in place? I used to like to tell people that, you know, do you have, so the airline I used to work for, I used to have contracts with a local hotel, so that if there was some sort of emergency, I already had a contract in place for a local conference center so I could rent out conference space to put all of my employees to move them for workstations in a conference room. But I had already signed contracts before an emergency ever occurred, because by the time you think about it as a business owner, you've already lost that opportunity. So if you haven't thought of that and pre-planned all of that out, you've lost that opportunity to you know to uh, to react in some cases. So you just want to make sure you've thought about a lot of this beforehand.
You actually just brought up a really good point. I had mentioned I have a daughter who's a nurse and she works on the other side of the state. And she works in a hilly area of the state. And I'm wondering if the hospital has any kind of contracts like that with hotels. Because I'm gonna advise her to find some place to stay out there because obviously she's essential. She needs to get to work, but that travel is going to be pretty heinous with all of the snow and that. So that's actually a great point there to point out, especially if you're a business that can afford something like that, or you're in an area that doesn't have, like I'm in the country, right? So our roads and stuff get plowed, but it's on a good day, 40 minutes for me to get to Hartford, and that's hitting all kinds of highways and that. So
Right.
if anything happens along that way, having
I've seen, some hospitals, work with, local schools that, they know probably are going to be closed during that time, and use gyms and things like that and put cots up. And, it's all about pre-planning. Most hospitals have a, emergency planning department as well within them. So they, many of the larger health systems work with, local communities to put plans and like that in place for their providers and clinicians and that sort of thing.
Well, let's hope they do. I'm gonna find out. Okay, the next question is, are some disasters harder to bounce back from for a business? Like, what are the ones that we typically want to make sure you've got a solid plan in place and what?
Yeah, so the ones that destroy infrastructure typically are definitely harder to bounce back from. So those are the ones that earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, things where you're going to lose your infrastructure and you have to move offsite for an extended period of time to rebuild. That's where you oftentimes, if you don't have the right and business interruption insurance and an offsite plan to be able to resume business temporarily, and you haven't thought about how to do this effectively, that you could find yourself, not able to resume operation of your business. So it's definitely something that if you haven't planned appropriately, that you could find yourself not able to reopen your business.
I would think things like restaurants and that would have sort of a disadvantage also because they deal with, what's the word I'm looking for? Their consumables
Yeah,
can deteriorate, right?
right,
So whether it's
exactly.
food or any of the other things that come along with it, I think
Mhm.
that was a big thing we definitely saw with COVID was a lot of these places, they had existing contracts, like you said, for food delivery and for all these other things, and then everything kind of got
Mhm.
shut down. So I would think,
Yeah, and I mean, I think like the fine, more of like the fine dining, that some of that doesn't, people don't think of, oh, I'm going to go pick up from like, a Ruth Chris steakhouse. I'm not, that's not, I'm not going to bring that home with me. It's not so a lot of the people, the more of nicer restaurants that were sit down restaurants struggled because it just wasn't, it didn't, it, it was a difficult transition to delivery, or to um, for a food pickup. So yeah, it's just been a challenge. It's been such a learning experience for everybody. The last couple of years, in many ways, and people have learned how to be resourceful, and I think in some ways, it's been able to help us learn how to work remotely, and a lot of that for some businesses, it's helped us become more resilient. You know, so in some ways, there's been some so small silver linings when it comes to business resiliency in throughout the pandemic. But we've still got a lot of planning and work to do to ensure everybody is prepared as they can be.
Yeah, I would say that, people have definitely learned that a lot with COVID, but there's a massive class of employment places that just you don't ever have that opportunity to work
Right.
from home, right? So
Yeah.
you have to make sure you've got a plan, and something hopefully that can, as you said, help you take care of your business and your employees, and that then helps them take care of their family too. So another question was, some parts of an event might be covered under insurance, like flood or something like that, but are kits or preparation ever covered by insurance or reimbursable if they're used during an emergency?
That I'm not sure. That's kind of outside of my area of knowledge. I don't know about that.
Okay, so I guess then instead of that, then maybe we can talk about like the kits and the preparedness that you guys have. I love the bag here.
Yeah.
Besides the folder, is this going to help you kind of develop, and have you kind of updated for the COVID impact in that? Like, I'm assuming different types of emergencies sometimes are going to require different types of action plans.
Yeah, so redcross.org in general has a lot of information on how to build an emergency kit. We are recommending now that you add in, some of the things that you would need, like hand sanitizer, bringing some latex gloves with you, bringing obviously the appropriate type of masks of whatever the appropriate CDC mask that's being recommended at the time. So right now with the variants we're seeing, you're looking at N95, KN95 masks if possible, to put some of those in your emergency kits, so that if you have to leave your house, that you have those. If you show up at a shelter, that you have those available to you. But so that, in addition to the typical things you would want in a emergency kit, several days of food and water in case you are stuck at home. So you definitely want resources in your vehicles, resources in your house. Make sure for this upcoming winter storm that you have everything you need for the storm today. You've made preparations, and that you don't have to leave the house after tonight, and that you can be at home if at all possible throughout the storm Saturday. So making sure that you have everything you need, but there's complete resources in terms of what you should have available on redcross.org. Also, on the State Emergency Management Agency website, they have resources available there as well. And on that ready.gov website that I have listed here, there's a personal preparedness section that has information on building an emergency kit as well.
I'm writing it down. So basically, what you're telling me is that I need to listen to my husband because my poor girls, like, they would always have in their car like a gallon of water, a blanket, some this and that, and it would take up half of their trunk. And people
Yep.
would say, "Why do you have all that stuff?" And they'd be like, "My
Hmm.
dad always says I have to have
Yep.
this."
A shovel, having one of those like little shovels. I always say I've got a thing of people laugh at me, but I have a little thing of cat litter, so
Yes.
that if you you can put cat litter down to get some traction with your tires if you get stuck somewhere. So
So
it's
I
all
just want to point out that you're probably not the one doing the grocery shopping, because now when I go grocery shopping, I've got half a trunk full of stuff and I have nowhere to put the groceries.
exactly, yes.
I say that to my husband. I'm like, you
I
can
didn't do the grocery shopping this week. Somebody else in my
see,
household.
he's already said, make sure you got the stuff to make soup, make sure, you're in winter parking, make sure, we already checked to make sure we've got at least half a tank of oil, at least a full tank of gas. I'm like, okay, my husband needs to come work for you is what I'm pretty much saying. Like, there you go. I don't know. Like,
Red Cross is always hiring. Tell them to come join us.
I'll tell him that. And this is right up your lane, honey. You could, all these things you can tell me, see, I was right. I don't see any more questions in the chat right now, but I want to thank you, Tyler. This has been very informative. I've
Sure.
downloaded the app and I wrote down the 2 websites, and I'm going to try to get this posted and up on my site, well, today, so everybody can go through it and look at it, because this is not only is I think it's great for businesses, but it's also good from a personal perspective. But you hit the nail on the head when you said businesses can come back and be open and be ready to be back in the community, knowing that their families are safe at home. So this definitely walks you through making sure you've taken the steps to do what you have to do. And I think just so many people, especially new business owners, it kind of catches them unaware. And we all know
Mhm.
when new business owners start out, they are higher risk of failing.
Yeah,
So anything that we
they're
can
so
do.
busy. You have so much on your plate as a new business owner. You just don't, things get pushed off, and it's not that you don't want to. You don't think about it, and you don't realize, it's not something that it's on your radar, when you're just starting out.
Right, right. And then, you as you're chugging along, you get the notice that we're going to get 2 feet of snow,
Yeah.
and now you're kind of buying the 8 ball. So I'm really thrilled to get this out for people and have it up there so anybody can watch it and contact you directly. Thank you for your contact information if
Sure.
they have any questions in that. But definitely first step is to download this app, because now I have it, and I hate to say it. I know I'm going to end up saying, you're right, honey. I just know it. So, but you know what? I'd rather say you're right, honey, than be to be left unprepared. So, thank you so much for coming on this Friday
Sure.
morning, early in the morning. I appreciate your time, and hopefully we can get you back again if you have any other. Oh, my dog is pulling on my thing. If you have any other good things that you can share with our business community.
Sure. All right. Well, you guys have a good one, and stay warm.
Thank you. You too.
Bye bye.
Have a good weekend. Bye bye.